So I have some very high-tech notes, keeping it very lean tonight. So my name is Liz Kaelin, and I am the founder of YouChews. YouChews, our mission is to make ordering great catering online simple, consistent, and fun. And I'm a dietitian by trade, so the only real experience I have with business and with the lean methodology has been founding my own startup. So what I'm going to do is take you on a little bit of a journey as to how we've tried to build our organization using the lean methodology. So before I start, I'm going to consult my notes. How many of you here are entrepreneurs yourselves? Okay, so a few. And how many of you want to be entrepreneurs? Okay, awesome. And how many of you are familiar with the lean methodology? Okay, and how many of you have no idea what I'm talking about? Okay, so a few. Okay, great, awesome. So welcome, and thank you so much to Pivotal Labs for having me. So building the organization on lean. So what does that mean? So what we've tried to do at YouChews is we've tried to infuse the organization with a culture whereby we test, measure, and learn almost everything that we do. It's really easy to talk about when I'm on stage talking to all of you, but it's a lot more challenging to do in practice all the time. So we're going to talk a little bit about what we do. So here's the agenda. So welcome, everyone. Thank you. We're going to talk a little bit about my journey. I call it From Clinician to Canapes. So just our story and the evolution of the business. And so from the first time that I ever even heard of lean methodology, from all of the initiatives that we're undertaking now, we're going to just briefly touch on the lean canvas, which I'm sure a lot of you have seen, but we're going to talk a little bit about how we actually use it in my organization. Case study. I'd really like to answer any questions that you might have, and then after that you can all pat me on the back and tell me what a great job I did. Okay? Okay. So do these look familiar to anyone that's ever been in corporate? Okay. So I've already said before that I'm a dietitian, so I consider calories my currency. I love food more than anything, and if I'm going to eat a sandwich, it better be the best sandwich ever. Yes. Right? So like, you know, I don't mind, like I'll eat sausage rolls and all that stuff, but I want it to be like Burke Street Bakery sausage rolls. Like I want it to be really delicious. And I moved to Australia 3.5 years ago, and I started working in a large corporate organization doing sales. And every Monday we would have meetings, and the food always looked like this. And this is one of the biggest food companies in the world. And I just thought there's such a disconnect between the food that I'm eating in the office and what I'm actually saying, you know, in terms of messaging to customers. So why do I eat such crappy food in the office? So I actually started doing lean before I even knew what it was. I started like testing and learning. So what do? You go to the market. So this is Glebe markets. So I started going to all the different markets that were in Sydney, and I was struck by how amazing the food culture was. Like there was always a new cafe to try, there was always a new restaurant, but there didn't seem to be any place where you could actually go online to order good food for your office, because I tried. I went, okay, well, clearly there must be a catering website that I can recommend to someone that says this is like better food than what we're getting, and there wasn't anything. So that was kind of like my first light bulb moment where I went, I could do that. Maybe, I think. I don't know, could I? So I started trying to learn about business because I didn't really know anything about it being a dietitian for so long. And I went to a young entrepreneurs meetup at VibeWire. If anyone knows VibeWire, it's in Ultimo, okay? And I started learning, and someone said, oh, that sounds like a startup. And I went, what's that? I had no idea what startups were. So they said, well, actually, on the weekend, there's something called the Lean Startup Machine. You should really check it out. And I went, oh, okay. And so I went onto the website, and it just completely changed my life. And it really spoke to me as a first-time founder with no experience. Because the premise was, anyone can start a business if you have a good idea that's going to make money. So what you need to figure out is, if you think you have a great idea, is anyone going to buy what it is that you're selling? Because that is the fundamental part of business, right? So before you invest in a logo, before you buy a domain name, before you do anything in your business, figure out if what you are selling is what someone is going to buy. So this is me at the Lean Startup Machine in, I think it was like August 2013. So this was me learning validation, like learning the lean canvas, being like, okay, this is what your customers are, this is what your revenue streams are going to be, this is how you're going to test your idea. And it was my first foray into foundership. So for all of you who are founders, it's really, really easy on paper sometimes, but I knew nothing. So like I literally signed up for it, I think the day before it started. So it said like you really should read in the Lean Startup, which I didn't do because I didn't have any time. So they said, so I knew nothing about startups. You had to vote on ideas to get through. And I said, I have this idea for like a catering website, and everyone's like, no, that actually sucks. But I like kind of got through anyway. My team completely quit on me. So halfway they're like, oh, we're gonna go get some lunch, and then no one ever came back. Because it's really hard, like which was my first taste of foundership, because the business that I wanted to do was focus on corporate catering in particular. The reason why I believed I wanted to validate that corporates were better is because I believed that there was going to be repeat business. So if you turn 40, you only turn 40 once, right? But if you order catering every Friday, like we did, that's like a repeatable model. But you can't validate that in a weekend, and I just arrived in Australia, so I didn't know anyone except my boyfriend and like his friends and their girlfriends. So I couldn't really validate it. But it wasn't until Sunday night or Saturday night when I was literally in Circular Quay being like, does anyone order catering for offices? I was like yelling, and that didn't really work, but I was on the ride home and I went, you know what? You know who really needs help? Are people who make food. They need more business, and I haven't even asked them any questions. So that's what I decided to do. So on the Sunday, I went to the French's Forest Market. I don't know if any of you have been there before. It's a cool market, right? And the first people I talked to, they were a business called the Gourmet Rotisserie, and they had those awesome ham rolls. And all I did was go to them and say, what problems do you have in your business? And it was like the floodgates opened. Like they validated all of the assumptions that I had. They said it's so hard for us to do this. What I didn't know, at the time, they had a food truck, right? So they were a rotisserie, so they had a truck. But they didn't have a food truck license. And they didn't know, because they didn't do their validation, probably, before they started their business, that in order to practice or to have a food truck in Sydney, you had to buy a license, which is $250,000 before you, yes, it's $250,000 for a license before you even fit your truck out or before you do anything. Because they didn't have that license, they had to pay licensing fees in each council they operated in. So if they wanted to be at French's Forest Market or Merrickville Market or Glebe Market, they had to pay council fees in every council they operated in because they were physically cooking food on site. So when I went to them saying, you wouldn't travel to the CBD, they were like, absolutely we would travel to the CBD. Like we actually live in Merrickville, so we can cook it there and we can transport it. We have a truck. So it validated, at least on one side of the market, for me as an inexperienced founder, it validated my assumptions that people like this needed more business and that I could help them. The sad thing is that 2 months later, when I decided to launch YouChews, I called them and they were already closed. So it just, and even like yesterday, one of the people that we worked with so hard to try to get them on the platform to get more business had to shut their doors. It was Knuckles Sandwich Bar. I don't know if any of you know them, and don't even know, I think it's Redfern. It's like on the border. But anyway, that spurs me every single day. Like it did in 2.5 years ago, and it still does. We stand for keeping these small businesses in business. And if I can help them build their businesses through more revenue, then I can go to sleep at night. And I'm a simple gal. You know what I mean? Like I want to feel good inside when I go to sleep. And so keeping people like this in business is what drives us every day. So from that weekend to now, so I wrote down some of the things that we're doing, which are actually kind of cool. Let's see. So we're kind of a success story, maybe, I guess. Like I'm not out of the woods yet. I'm still a bootstrap startup, so like anything can happen, but I think we're doing okay. So from that time in 2013 to learning the lead methodology to now, we were accepted into the MuroD Accelerator, backed by Telstra. So Telstra's our investor. I'm a member of Heads Over Heels, which is an organization that helps, females get more things in business, which is awesome. And we've done almost $250,000 in sales in 2.5 years. I have a team of 10. I've got over 200 customers. I have over 40 caterers that we work with really closely. And so everything that I have done in this business, I literally validated at that weekend. Like all the assumptions I had pretty much came true. People wanted better food. I have a double-sided marketplace, so I had 2 lean canvases. So I had one for customers and I had one for, I call them food partners because I want them to know that I'm partnering with them because it's good for the culture. So customers wanted better food. They wanted a variety of vendors in one place. They wanted like different price points, so we validated that side. And then on the caterer side, we validated the fact that they needed more business, that they were willing to hand over their customer base to us in order to help them get more business and alleviate a lot of the administrative headaches, which is really funny because now it's all my problem. But it's still really exciting to like try to figure out. So how do we do it, right? So who here has seen this? Yeah, a couple of you. Obviously, it's the Lean Startup Meetup. So this is the Lean Canvas. So what we did was, start with our problems, our solution, our metrics, and for us, the most important thing, because I am still a bootstrap startup to this day, aside from the very small amount of money that Telstra has given me, just enough rope to hang myself, but I've managed to last a really long time, is how are we going to make money? What's going to be the lifetime value of our customers? What's our customer acquisition cost? These are still metrics that we are measuring every single week and every single month to make sure that we are on track. So what we do is every week I have a management meeting, and every month I have an internal meeting with my entire team from interns up to like me, because there's 10 of us and I'm at the top. And so we talk about are we using the right channels? Do we have the right metrics? Are we measuring the right things? I used to measure like Facebook likes, and I'm like, I don't fucking care about Facebook likes. Like that doesn't, and our caterers don't care about Facebook likes. Like what do we really care about? What do we want to test? What do we want to measure? And what do we want to learn about what our customers want and what our caterers want? So we are still continually figuring out what metrics to use, how we're going to run these tests, and what we're learning all the time. Okay, so I'm going to use a case study. So when I started, I said I'm a dietitian, right? And when I started 2.5 years ago, people thought I was nuts. They were, and I was really, really fortunate in that I met a lot of really cool mentors really quickly, because back then, startups were just becoming a thing. And so they said, look, Liz, don't do it. It's a double-sided marketplace, it's a local-to-local sale, it's a perishable product. And I went, okay. And I had no idea what they were saying. So I just did it anyway, which is a good thing, because if I had known how hard it was, I don't know if I would have done it. But it was really, really hard for me to meet with like-minded founders because I was the only one that I knew, and I was fairly visible in the startup community doing anything with food tech. So I used our lean methodology to be like, okay, well, what are my problems? No one else is doing food tech. I don't know anything. I am facing very unique and specific problems to me that I want to talk to like-minded founders about. This was before Foodora, this was before Deliveroo, before Menulog thought they were cool and changed their logo. It was prior to all of these things. So we said, okay, what are the problems and what's the solution? So everyone was doing fintech, they were doing sport tech, they were doing health tech, but there was no food tech. So because I'm a founder, what do? You start your own thing. So what we decided to do, using the lean methodology, was we started a meetup group like this called Food Tech Australia. So the purpose was to educate people about what food tech was, because no one really knew, and then what we were doing. And all we are is a community that are passionate about food in the digital space. So we run meetups, we've hosted hackathons. We did the first food tech hackathon in Australia in November last year. And so we've done all of that off of the back of the lean canvas to make sure that it was actually something viable that people were going to use and that they were going to attend and that they were going to appreciate. So that's what we did. So what about YouChews, right? So I recognized the gap in the market, and I validated the idea. I think I still have the old lean canvas, but I think I used sticky notes, so I don't know if I have the one that I actually used. But all of my validations were absolutely correct. The next slide I'm going to tell you about, my validations were correct. What I've done with the idea maybe hasn't been. The products that I've created, but certainly the idea that people wanted better food in the office and that caterers wanted us to be acting as their agent in order to get them more business has 100% been true. And we're bootstrapped and we're still growing. So if any of you really like my presentation tonight and you want us to keep going, you can totally use us for catering. If you want to go to youchews.com or ask your office manager to send me an email, you're very welcome to do that, or my contact details. But what we do at YouChews, and Pivotal uses us, so thank you, Pivotal. Thank you so much for using us. You guys are awesome. But what did we do with the lean canvas in order to build the business because the validation has been clear. So you've heard of pivots, correct? Yep. So we're going to talk a little bit about the pivots that we've made. So when I started, so I validated the idea that people wanted better food, but I was like, what do they actually want? Like, how am I going to bring this to them? So the first idea that I had was that it was going to be the Pandora of food. So you type in, like, I don't know, Jimmy Barnes into the music thing, and then it just comes up with different, music that are like Jimmy Barnes. So that's what I first thought people wanted, because they wanted it. They said they wanted it really easy. They said it has to be really, really simple. And so I said, okay, great. So what I'll do is I'll have a whole bunch of menus. Say you type in Mexican, and it'll come up with a whole bunch of different menus, and you won't even know what turns up. You'll be surprised. Yeah, that totally didn't work at all. Like, people were like, no, we don't want that in the slightest. Everyone wanted menus and pricing. They wanted to see what they were getting. So even though I had validated the idea, my interpretation of what they wanted was totally wrong to begin with. So then I said, okay, well, this is what I'll do. I will have set menus. So rather than let you pick off of a menu, we'll just set menus for you, because that will take the thinking out of picking food. You just pick, okay, yeah, I have breakfast, and that's a muffin and a fruit skewer and a yogurt cup, and that'll be me, like, done, no problem. Which everyone told me they wanted when I was doing validation, because I wasn't asking the right questions. And they're like, oh, yeah, I'll totally use this, absolutely. And then I actually created such a problem for myself, because anytime there were any changes for anything, they had to manually send me an email, which they always wanted to do, because catering by definition is so complex. So think about when you walked in today and you saw the food. What did you think? I don't know if I like that. Oh, I really like, but I don't know if I like apple. Oh, they have sliders, but I really wish there was, I don't know if there's any carrots. So, but there's a singular person within this organization that has ordered food on behalf of all of you, trying to encompass all of your likes and dislikes without knowing anything about you. Then, not only does that happen, but the food has to get there. And there's a whole other supply chain that you have to deal with. So by definition, it is super, super, logistically challenging. Let me just put it that way. So, and then I put set menus, which change all the time, because catering changes. There's more people, there's less people, there's a vegan, there's someone who's got, a dietary requirement. We order something last minute, I need to reduce my order. So I actually created a whole bunch of problems for myself by trying to make it easy, even though my original validation lean was correct. And I still did the build, measure, and learn. I still did that, and I was still wrong. Because you have to be asking the right questions of your customers. And the caterers are okay. They'll do whatever I tell them. That's part of the curation process. I will do anything you want me to do. I will get you all this business. You have to do exactly what I tell you to do, which is what they want, because they don't want to think about anything else but food. That's all they're good at. They're not good at anything else. So they want to be told, right? Customers, they want to have a little bit of flexibility, even though they all told me set menus are the way to go. So I dealt with that nightmare for the last year. Now, I have changed to individual items and packages. We just did this last week. And now my web traffic has totally dropped off. And everyone's calling me on the phone because they were used to the old system even though they didn't like it, right? So they're going, oh, what happened to the old system? We thought we really liked that system, even though no one ever, they always made changes, right? So it's like, so I'm tired, right? But the point is, I'm still using lean to test, and I don't always get it right. I actually get it wrong all the time. But still, it is through these iterations. It takes a really long time. It takes a really long time to build a business and to do all these things when you're bootstrapped and you are a first-time founder. But we are still doing that. So the result now is that if you want pulled pork sliders instead of beef sliders in your package, you can do that. So now we're trying to educate the market with regards to the fact that they can now pick stuff off of a menu. And we are hoping that now we will have our hockey stick, which we will, because I am very focused and driven and charismatic. I don't know. But yeah, so that's the result. So those are the pivots that we've made in the organization thus far in 2.5 years. So I have a feeling there's probably still more to come. So I'm going to leave you, but I would like to, obviously some questions. So in closing, lean doesn't stop as your business is scaling. We are always testing and measuring and learning. My team knows better than to come with me with an idea. I have a million ideas every day. What is it about your idea that's important? What is it about your idea that I should pay attention to, because I have a million other things that I'm doing? So they have to have an assumption they have already kind of proved before they even come to me. So that is, which is exciting for them, because they're young and they're hungry. I can't afford any other team members, right? You know, they're all young because I'm bootstrapped. So it gives them an opportunity to come to the CEO and say, this is what I think we should do based on everything I've learned, which not only is like awesome as a person to be like, wow, I'm helping develop these people, but also in an organization because it saves me a lot of time. I said it's really easy for me to sit up here and talk. This is the easiest part of my day, guys. I gotta tell you. You know, but it's like, you know, it's really, really challenging to implement within your organization. So we've tried to do a good job of that. That test and learn mentality has to be fundamental to the DNA of your business. And because I love my team, I had to put this in there. You need an entire team who are versed in the lean way of thinking, which you can easily do in your culture if you start it off that way. Everyone in YouChews knows how it started. They know that it started at a lean methodology workshop. So it is infused into the culture. And your team, they have to be young, they have to be energetic, they have to be willing, sharp, and kind-hearted. Because you don't want people that are all of those things without having integrity. And now you all get to tell me how great I was.